Hi, and welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast, A Champion's Mind. Today, I have an absolute powerhouse on this episode. I need to take a huge breath just to give you a small segment of a few of her successes today. So here I go. She has had 46 fights with 35 wins, 10 losses, 1 draw, and an amazing 17 KOs. She is a 3-time world champion. She has the WKN Aussie title belt, WKA Aussie title belt, the WMC state title, 2 times gold medalist for IFMA Games, and she has been selected to represent Australia 7 times for IFMA. Yolo, how are you going today?
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm really...
Yeah. So let's get right into it. So success is a huge topic. Everyone has their own perspective. Some want money, some want XYZ number of belts. What is success to you as a person?
Success for me is what I leave in the mind of someone when I hang my gloves up. So it's the impact that I leave in someone's life, regardless of whether they're an athlete or not an athlete. It's just the ability for me to inspire someone or impact their life in some way, shape or form. That for me is success. Knowing that I have achieved something like that is far greater than any belt that I could get. Everyone seems to forget what belts you have. You've mentioned it now, and I can guarantee you if you had to ask someone what belts I have, they can't tell you. So unfortunately, I can't measure my success based on material things.
That's beautiful. I think obviously knowing you've done quite a few sports at a high level. Focusing on Muay Thai, who was Yolo before Muay Thai and who are you now? How's it changed you as a person?
Before I was a girl, and I was pretty much doing Irish dancing, contemporary, hip hop, ballet, all of the different styles of dance that you could possibly think of. I was competitive in Irish dancing, so I went to the World Championships for that, and I was really focused on dance. I absolutely love music, and I still do, and I teach it as well. I've always been intrinsically motivated, and obviously extrinsic motivation helps as well, but also very physically active and enjoy the lifelong footy. I don't think I can imagine my life without it. I started Muay Thai to enhance my dance for fitness wise, and I feel that Muay Thai selected me in that sense, but it has so much. It's taught me so much about myself, my abilities, my strengths, my weaknesses, and a lot of problem solving. Muay Thai has also taught me about the Thai culture. I had never been to Thailand before starting Muay Thai. I didn't understand the culture, and now I love the culture, the people, their why, what's important to them, and it just makes me realize how fortunate we are as a nation.
So is there something that Muay Thai kind of helps you grow more, or does that dancing didn't do?
I just that Muay Thai offered me a different sense of connectedness to what dance did. So while dance, you're also surrounded by people, you're also in a performance, even though Muay Thai is not quite a performance, but getting in the ring, same but different. Yeah. Whether you're on stage performing a show or in the ring doing what we do, I just feel that Muay Thai has pushed my limits a lot more. It has given me a lot more challenges to deal with, and really, really molded me to become even more tenacious. And it has shown me that my why is really strong, and knowing that I can push and how much I can push myself. It's just really tested me to test the waters of I can push myself before I crack, and what to do when I do crack. Whereas dance has that as well, I really did have that. I had my moments. But I feel Muay Thai has pushed me even more, and it's just enhanced my ability to be forgiving to myself. Because if I'm not forgiving myself in those moments where I'm really hard on myself, I'm not going to be able to move forward.
And how important do you think for anyone looking to be successful, whether it's in fighting or whatever, how important is to have that why, in the back of your mind?
If you don't have a why, you shouldn't start. You have to know why you started, and that why is what should drive you. So someone said the other day, well, do you still want to fight after all you've been through? And I'm like, yes, I definitely do. And it's because my why is still strong. I still want to learn. I still want to develop. I still want to challenge myself. If you don't have a why, that's when you stop completely. So I think a lot of to the stage where they go through a whole bunch of challenges and they give up. And that's where you should reevaluate and have a look at what your why is. Why did you start? What is it that you were looking for? Are you still looking for that? If you're not looking for that, maybe apply to something different.
No, that's really, really good. Obviously, I know that when you came onto the Muay Thai scene, it was like a rocket. You hit the Muay Thai scene like a rocket. And I know your first 10 fights were actually all wins. But then, with the journey, there has to be a loss. Talk to us about the emotions of this first loss.
I will say that it's something that you don't really know how to react to because you have no idea how it's going to feel. So up until the 11th fight, when I had my loss, every fight was like, is this going to be the fight I'm going to lose?
Yeah.
Is this going to be the fight where I have to deal with emotions and feelings that I haven't yet experienced in Muay Thai? I've experienced in different fields, but not in Muay Thai. Dealing with a loss is personal. It's like dealing with grief in a way. Like there is a coaster of emotions that you're going to go through in different steps, and each person is going to stay at each step at a various different lengths. So it might take me longer at one step and someone else a lot quicker. The nerves regarding it is pretty scary.
Yeah.
That first loss, I cried my heart out. I felt like a complete disappointment to my gym, to myself, to my friends, to my family. And essentially looking back, you're not a disappointment at all, not even in the slightest. Just getting into the ring is a massive accomplishment. But we're always our hardest critic, and we tend to be so hard on ourselves and pressure that they're there to see you win, but in actual fact, they're just there to see you succeed in your own way. And for me, in the ring, getting in there, doing what I've done within fight camp and actually bringing it through into the ring, they've actually succeeded, even if it was a loss. But it took me many fights to get to the point of actually thinking that way.
Yeah.
Even my first couple of losses were all really hard, and each one had a different emotional battle around it, because the first thing you think about was like, I wasn't good enough, or perhaps I shouldn't be doing this. So I think only once did that thought come across my mind. Should I be fighting? And it came across my mind, and as quickly as it came there, as quickly as I hit it out. Yeah. If I continue to think in that manner, then I'm definitely not going to be moving forward. So it's personal, because it depends. Some people don't mind. They deal with it in that way, and they just move forward. For me, I need to process it, and I need to be by myself for a little bit so I can beat myself up and then be nice to myself, because I am so harsh that I say all the wrong things. If someone's to me, they will likely get that backlash too. But it's really important to understand that you are going to lose, and a loss on your record makes zero difference. I can have a squeaky clean record, but it could mean nothing.
Yeah.
So it took me a really long time before I realized that it's not all about a fight record.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's this just false security around like the undefeated record that UFC kind of give us, and it's so bad. On the flip side of doing so well, and having
100%,
it's so bad.
I just feel like a lot of people then focus on someone's fight record. So fans will be looking at your fight record, and they don't really have the knowledge and understanding to really understand that you've had 46 fights and 46 wins, but of what caliber were those opponents that you faced? You know, if they were really quality opponents and you've beat them all, then hey, yes, your fight record is important.
Yeah.
But if you have trained in 5 months and you take them on and you win by KO, hey, that's a great successful feeling. No, it's not. You don't feel accomplished.
That's, perfect segue into my next question. I can imagine they kind of got to a point where no one at your experience would actually want to fight you. Is that true?
I have had people turn me down, which is really unfortunate, and I won't mention who or why, but getting to the point where people go, no, not yet. I say, well, when? Because I myself have jumped into the ring with people with far more experience and a training background and fight record than myself. And if you're wanting to challenge yourself, you need to get into the ring with those people. You can't call yourself an athlete if you haven't faced the best in the business.
Yeah.
And we then got to a point where we would just take any fight that we could take, regardless of weight category or even style, just so we could stay active. I mean, ring rust is a thing, and if you're going to be selective about who you're facing, then you're not a true champion.
So obviously the first time you kind of faced someone that maybe would have been like an idol or someone you looked up to, how did you handle that mentally? And did you kind of put anything in practice at training to make sure that you stay on track, with your mindset and keeping positive, just to get into the ring?
I've always thought to myself that I'm an all or nothing kind of girl. I guess it's a good and a bad thing. Definitely well, you do something, you do it well, or you don't do it at all. Leading up to big fights, whether it was for a title or whether it was against an amazing athlete, I've always taken the same route, even though the pressure on me is different. My mindset, the amount of training I do, and my routines all remain the same. I'm very routined in that sense. I've got a variety of different things that I do in fight camps. So something that will keep me level-headed is a fight diary that I like using it at the moment in my recovery, because you need to keep yourself accountable. So my fight diary is a 3-point system. At night after training, I would get home and I would give myself 3 points. One would what I did well in my training session. It could be absolutely anything. Perhaps it was my footwork, perhaps it was my right kick, perhaps it was my timing, absolutely anything. Just find one thing that you can find positive about yourself. As an athlete, being so critical, I think a lot of you you need to find that one thing, and giving yourself that positive point and writing it down makes it even more realistic. The second point, I would point out what I did not do well. So I'll find something that needs work, probably the better word choice. So something that needs work. And then my third point will be specifically and exactly when I have a chance to try and continue working on developing that so that it doesn't need as much work. So for example, I might go, my right was not great in today's session, then I would put it as my where. I'm training again tomorrow. When I'm on the bag, I'm going to work on that leg kick. So just writing it, it's something that's physical, I can see it, I'm accountable, I then will follow session. And it might change from session to session. I do a lot of visualization as well. I have a board up in my room of certain things that I write, and then finally I do something that is rather strange. I do a voice recording from myself to myself.
Yeah.
So specifically for I would say about 2 weeks out from fight day, I start with my recording. My recording doesn't generally change unless something happens in my fight prep in those 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But normally I would stay positives, whether it's I have a roof over my head, I have a supportive family, I have a job that pays the bills, I'm financially stable, and then I'll start pointing out physical things about training as well. I've been training, I'm running, I'm fit, my right hand is strong, my left elbow is looking good, my switch kick is quick. Anything that you can find that's positive. that was one of the hardest things for me to do because of the fact that I'm so hard on myself. I'll find all the, and this exercise has made me find the positives. You really have to find those positives if you want to develop, because if you're going to be negative the whole time, there's going to be zero progression. I worked with Joshua from Fight Mindset, who actually really did a lot of these things with me, and I took them on, and I've just continually been using them, but not only in my fight career, but in life. So I feel that's really good. And once I've done that voice recording, my voice recording with how I envision the fight ending, with whether it's with results, whether it's with specific knockdowns, things like that. But then I'm actually hearing it, and then every morning when I get into the car on my way to work, play on that voice message, and it tells me what I should be thinking. And it's repetition for emphasis. So you hear it every day, and the more you hear yourself saying something as opposed to someone else saying something, the more you're going to believe it. So I really find visualization, writing things down so that you're accountable, and then this little voice recording thing that I do is really it's made a big difference.
Oh, that's really good. I think one point that really kind of like stood out to me was like that you work on your weaknesses, because, you know, being in a gym for like 10 years, I just see so many people avoiding them. And I'm like, this is the one thing that could lose you a fight. How do you work on your weaknesses? Is it outside of class? Is it, you know, at home in front of the TV? Just to really give our audience like some insight to the lengths you go to be at the level that you're at.
Oh, you know what's really important is what you do when your coach is not watching. Anyone will work really hard when I have Andy over my shoulder, because, you know, if I slack off, he's going to say something. But you know that you can succeed when you can push yourself, no one around, where just you. So for me, I'm the type of person who would always go home. And even when I was a dancer, I would go home and put in those extra 2 hours, and I'd focus on working on something. I'm like a dog at a bone.
Yeah.
You know, you need to be willing to do all the extra things that other people say they will do, but never do. So that's what makes the difference in being a champion and not, putting in those extra hours on working on them, but also just really being able to identify what it is that you need to work on. It might well be confidence that you need to work on, and that's where those positive self-talk will come through. But if you're not going to put in the time to work on it, then it's not going to work. I've spent so much time of my fight career injured, and been moments where I've been able to go, okay, well, my right hand's not working right now. Well, I've got 7 other weapons. Which one shall I work on? So it's about, I think everyone likes to do the things they enjoy, or the things that they're good at. I think when it comes to stretching, we always do the stretches that don't hurt, because, I mean, you know, it's a lot easier. Something I like to live by in the sense of being able to challenge yourself and develop your skills is that walking on a paved path is easy, but flowers grow there. So if I want to be where the flowers are, I've got to walk on that rocky path over those big boulders, and those boulders might be those little technical aspects and the hours of work I've got to put in to finally succeed.
Yeah. And obviously Andy's your coach and is one of the best, you know, I would say in Australia or the world. Outside of Andy, your support network, you know, to be a successful person is so important. And I think that's something that's a dominant theme in your career. Talk to us about the people that surround you, and maybe on the flip side, the people that you don't want to surround you.
You know, I think a support network is one of the most important things in any athlete's career. You really need to have a support network. Muay Thai might be an individual sport, but your team, you're not going to succeed. So climbing that ladder by yourself, dream on. I've got a lot of different professionals that work with me. So Mia Anu is my strength and conditioning coach. And then I have a great physio, Andrew Don. Andrew Parnham is my head coach when it comes to Muay Thai. And then I've got Singh Piak as my second in charge. And it's just, I've got a lot of people who are really great or experts in their field who are just putting in their little bit. And just means that at end feel supported. If I have any issue, I know that I can openly chat to any of them about something. You need to be able to have that relationship. And if you don't have that relationship with your trainers, then you might not have the right trainer. That is to say, also then your support network with friends and family. For me, I have a really great support network in the sense that I do have friends and family that completely have no idea why I do what I do. They don't really have no interest in it, but they still support me. And having that conversation with your friends or family that don't support you, that is a really important one to have, because if you're constantly not supporting you, it's going to start affecting you in your career. So find the ones who are willing to support you, whether they're supporting you just by being there or if they're actually coming to physically watch. You don't need that. Like, my dad will never watch me fight, but he supports me through and through. That's just a choice. You definitely want to steer clear of the negative ones. Those negative Nancys make your life living hell. There's also so many keyboard warriors out there. So as you start climbing the ranks, you'll have keyboard warriors type messages, and those are the little ones that are trying to poke at you so that you can crumble and fall. And it's about dealing with those in a certain way. And at the start of my career, I guess they did kind of affect me negatively with their negative comments. But bright and bubbly person, I don't want those negative people around me. Those people who are telling me I can't, I'm going to show them and I can. But not everyone has that level of resilience. So if you don't have that level of resilience to stand up when someone's telling you you can't do it, you need to get them out of your life. You need to make sure that you've got people who are giving you some positivity until you've got enough positivity in yourself to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the keyboard warriors thing is, I see so many people just stopping. They stop putting themselves out there. They stop working towards their goal. And it's just down to idiots behind a keyboard making themselves feel good for 1 single second. And it's affecting so many young people, and it's so sad.
Unfortunately, at the moment, like, social media is in front of everyone. It is the dominating factor in our youth at the moment, and they're using that for self-validation. So the moment someone is saying something negative, greatly. And unfortunately, those are our athletes that are coming up into the ranks, and we want them to continue going. So I think it's also up to other professional athletes to kind of support those.
Yeah.
And it makes it really hard that the people who are those keyboard warriors are most likely, 1, either not in the sport, 2, have no idea what you're going through, and 3, why do we care what they say?
Totally. So obviously in your career, you have faced a few injuries, often working through fight camps, with a little niggle or an injury here. How do you, again, get your mindset around this?
I don't think I've been in one fight camp where I've been 100% niggle free. And any athlete that claims to have been, they're lying. There's a thing that is always hurting, whether you've clashed knees at training, whether you rolled your ankle while you're running, or whether you still have a longer term injury from a previous fight. I feel that somewhat blessings in disguise for me, because they have forced me to focus on technical development of other aspects. So it might have been head movement, it might be a specific technique that I'd be focusing on. I had torn my shoulder. When I tore my shoulder, I was focusing on the other arm. When I had a hip injury, I was focusing on working a bit more southpaw. When I broke my thumb, I was focusing on my hand. So there's just a lot of people would rather come up with an excuse, and I'd rather come up with a solution. So every fight camp I've ever been on, and particularly my last fight camp, I use the hashtag find a way. So I just feel like if you really want to train, you will find a way. And it doesn't mean be stupid about it, because you're going to cause more injuries, but there is a way to be smart, still train, still develop and actually gain.
Sorry, guys, we have a freak storm here and our internet is playing up. But obviously, I know on 2nd of May 2019 was a very big day for you. I think you're in round 1 and your hamstring ruptured completely. What happened? Like, where did you go? And I know you went on to win the fight.
This has been the talk for last year, I guess, because it's been such a long recovery to get injury. But within the first 5 seconds of the fight, she did a push kick to my left thigh as I stepped onto my leg to throw my cross, and my forward motion and her force in my go, and my knee extended, my hip extended backwards, and I fell to the ground. And when I got up, I felt that I couldn't put weight on my leg, and I knew straight away that my hamstring was gone. But I had a couple of seconds to figure out, like, what do I do? I've trained so hard to be here, and I also had so many fights ahead of me, and all I thought of was like, okay, I'm in this fight right now. I've got to think of right now, what am I going to do? Do I change stance to southpaw? Do I throw in the towel? What do I do? I honestly had so many things running through my mind, but the only thing that was as clear as day was that I was in the final bout and I wasn't there to win silver. Bit down on hard, and I pushed through. To this day, I honestly cannot tell you how I did it, because I don't know. I know that wanting something more than the air you breathe is the only thing that I can understand as to how I did it. After the first round, I sat down and I had been sticking to the game plan because I was in too much pain mid-round to, I don't know if it was a mixture of pain or nerves, who knows what it was, but I couldn't make those adjustments for myself. I just wanted to get through the round without the ref stopping or me stopping. And between rounds, I had a chat to the corner. I told them my hamstring is gone. The first thing they wanted to do was throw the towel in, and without a second delay, my response was, hell no. There's no chance. I personally would never forgive myself if we're throwing the towel. Nothing on them, all on me. I did not want to walk away not knowing was I good enough, not knowing did I train hard enough, not knowing could I have won that gold medal. So into round 2 we went, and we had a different game plan, and I listened to the game plan to the T. I was a different fighter. If you watch the fight from round 1 to round 2, I was doing things very differently, but also just blocking out that pain as well. You know, anyone who has injured themselves within a sporting or a game will know that when the adrenaline is pumping, you don't feel as much pain as you could. So knowing that I was feeling something through that, then you know it's pretty serious. So near the end of the second round, I knocked her out, which was amazing, but not, because obviously the knockout was a pretty bad one, and I felt really bad for her, but I also felt an overwhelming joy inside, with tears running down my face, knowing that I had just won a gold medal for Australia with one hamstring. Little did I know that it would put me out for as long as it did. Surgeons believed 6 to 12 months recovery, but being so fit and healthy, I assumed I would be closer to the 6 than the 12. But yeah, it's been a year since surgery, and I've been working diligently to get back to the ring, because ultimately that's where I want to be. But it has been a trying year. I had obstacle after obstacle, and the surgery and the recovery has also taught me a hell of a lot, and it's definitely made me realize that my why is still burning strong.
Yeah. I feel like that is just one of the most powerful demonstrations that we as humans are capable of so much more than we think, to even just get through and win and knock someone out with one hamstring. Just shows that self-belief, your why is just so strong.
You know, I just knew that I had been training so hard and I'd put so much into it. And this also goes back to the not wanting to lose for your country, not wanting to lose for your gym. But most importantly, I didn't want to lose for me. You need to be a really big component or a factor in your why. You shouldn't be doing something for someone else. But I just feel that where you really want to do something, you can. And hell, I don't know, if I had to be in that same situation tomorrow, would I still be able to push through? I like to say yes, because my personality is a push through and suck it up princess kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah. So obviously being at your level, and I think there's a lot of talk out there or perception that we don't make mistakes. Champs don't make mistakes. It's an easy path. We're so lucky. What are you know, like one of your 2 to 3 biggest mistakes that have actually been better for you in the long run?
Firstly, I hate when people call me lucky, because we're not lucky as athletes. You know yourself, it's all that lots of hard work, dedication and sacrifices mixed with opportunity that has gotten us to where we are today. There's been so many mistakes. I've fought in fights where I have really made the fight more difficult for myself by choosing different techniques that I probably shouldn't have, and I could have gotten through a fight with less damage to myself if I had chosen a better strategy at the time. There's been choices about food that I might have made incorrectly. Earlier stages in my fight career, I did my weight cutting incorrectly. So all of these things are things that are going to impact you. And oh hell, Andy tells me all the time, I cry more than I hit pads. And that's because I always screw up something, or I have a bad training session, or there's always something that I'm going to have where it's been a mistake. And I think that a lot of people need to realize that we are all men and we are going to make mistakes regardless of who we are. I think Instagram and Facebook really make this section really hard, because people will pick their best shots and their best photos and their best videos to post up. So the world gets to see this flawless image of who this athlete is. So leading up during my recovery, I actually posted a video of me in tears, absolute tears. I was at rock bottom. I really was. And at the time when I posted it, I was just thinking that I wanted people to see that this is hard and we're going through it, but we're finding ways to get back up. And that's another big thing in made those mistakes, is just to realize or understand that it was either a mistake, but that you have to get back up again, and that you will fall, but if you stay down, that's when it's a loss. So I do a thought for the day each day, and today I help my students that you fail because you try because you believe, but you succeed because you believe even when you fail. So for me, that's a big one too. So when you failed, but you still believe, that's when you're going to succeed.
Very inspirational. So obviously we have a bit of a tradition here for the podcast. It's called the 60-second challenge. You can say pass, but it's really about just getting to your audience to get to know you in a different way. And so here we go. Who is your celebrity crush?
Ooh, celebrity crush. I don't know what his name is, but he's the guy from Hawaii Five-0. I would marry him if he wasn't already married.
If you could fight anyone, dead, retired, or alive, who would it be?
Oh my goodness, Kaylee Reese, Tiffany Van Soest.
Oh, that match needs to happen. What is your favorite cheat meal?
Oh, peanut butter. Peanut butter. I absolutely love peanut butter. Yeah, but I also on a Friday I make like a cauliflower pizza, and that can also be my cheat meal. But peanut butter is my answer, hands down.
What is your most embarrassing gym story?
Oh, I have no idea. I have to think about that one. So pass, we'll come back to it. I'll think about it in the moment.
Who would you love to see fight and why? Like a perfect matchup.
Oh, tough. Well, there was going to be a great matchup before on Siam to Sydney, we were going to have, I think, Charlie Barb with, mind blank, next.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. If you could take 3 items to a deserted island, what would you take?
Peanut butter, music, and water, I guess. Those are my 3 things. I got to have peanut butter.
The red corner or the blue corner?
Blue corner, hands down.
What is the heaviest you've ever been?
Weight-wise, 64.
It's not too bad.
That's a lot.
Biggest achievement today?
I guess being able to inspire others, like seeing all the positive messages I get there. But otherwise, I guess it would be winning the world title for Muay Thai Angels and my gold medals for Australia.
Okay, awesome. So the last one, HJ's or McDonald's?
Oh, neither.
No.
I don't know what one is.
So last chance for the most embarrassing gym story to end us all.
Oh, embarrassing gym story. I think,
I'll tell you.
It might be when I put my underwear in the shower. Yes.
My underwear fell out of my training bag and one of the boys picked them up and showed the whole gym, but I was the only girl in the gym. So they had to be mine. And then he smelt them.
Oh, he did not. He did not. That is terrible. Well, mine is underwear. I left them in the shower after I showered and gotten dressed and left out. And then it was kind of like the boys went in after me, and obviously they knew exactly who they belonged to, but no one said anything. But I guess it's probably good they didn't say anything. But I couldn't actually look at them in the eyes after that because underwear was on the shower floor. Yes.
Well, Yolo, honestly, I know that you're here to inspire people, and you do. You inspire so many people by being transparent, sharing your message, and being brave enough to push through every single obstacle that comes your way. There is no doubt that you're going to smash your comeback, and I can't wait to watch it. Thank you so much for being a guest on our podcast. And apologies to our audience with all the tech, but I think you have such a powerful message. So thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, an absolute pleasure to have a chat, and I feel humbled. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you guys, and have a great day.